this canvas has got a ton of paint on it. It had a former life as a different kind of painting, and so I had that painting on it, and then I had another painting over top of it. So I've been building up all these really gushy, lush layers of paint, which is good because as I start to tweak the painting, there's lots of body and to work with. So this afternoon, as I was pulling some of the green across the marsh grasses in the foreground, I was able to take the palette knife and scrape out some of the excess layers and uncover some beautiful textures down here in the foreground that really give a lot of character to the paint. When I stopped to think about what inspired this painting, I realized that if I go back to the very beginning of where I started the inspiration for this painting, it was actually 8 years ago. Plein air study from France, which is 8 years ago. So I started it on location. It's just 11 by 14. Reworked it, I can't tell you how many times in the studio, and finally varnished it and framed it and said, you're done. And then crazy me thought that she could make a bigger painting out of it. And so I lit into a large canvas, maybe, I don't know, a couple of months back, 3 or 4 months ago. And I was really surprised that it had been in my craw that long. So to me, inspiration for a painting is like a conversation with your best friend. You know, you pick up the phone with someone you haven't talked to in years, and you can pick up exactly where you left off. There was a lot of energy left over in the studio, and I lashed into a couple of other canvases, including this one. And what happened was that the vermilion reds came down in here, and this is from yesterday. Most of what's on here is from yesterday, not from last week. So I painted over that as well. But it turned into a really late afternoon light with the vermilion reds and the purple shadows. And then yesterday, the purples went away and came down into these other softened colors, and the cloud became yellow. Well, how do you know when you're finished? So in this case, the answer was, as I was coming back in with a really loose calligraphic-like brushstroke to darken up the clouds across here, and it kind of went over in here. And I always talk about the brush marks being very much like my signature. So I want the calligraphy of the brushstrokes to be as natural and as flowing as when I sign my name. So I was doing that on this, and the dark strokes went on over here, and it scumbled up on into this area here where you have this dry brush, because by the time this soft, quiet stroke got up here, it was very deep and scumbling. And as it finished, it dropped these little smudges down in these little shadows down into the waterway. When I stepped back across the studio and looked at it, I saw them as kayakers, not just shadows of the land masses, but as people. And also I saw that what I thought I was painting as clouds, I saw it as wings, like birds taking off across the thing. And at that moment in time, just that piece of insight was like a thunk in my head. The title of the painting is Taking Flight. The following morning, when I got up to write in my journal. And I really like that very first time, early in the morning, when I'm not quite awake yet and I'm relying on the cup of coffee to bring me out of the dream state. So I write at that time. That's when the Taking Flight haiku fell into my journal. The haiku is essentially the color meditation that I followed as I was painting.